is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. A happy new year. I hope that your festive season has been amazing, that it has been filled with love, with laughter, and lots of food. Because what is a festive season without food? What is that even? Now, what are we doing? There is no festive season that shouldn't have a lot of food. So I hope that you have eaten to your fill. And now we are in January. Let's, we can lose weight in January. Let us lose weight in January. But anyway, karibuni sana to the year 2023. I pray that it will be a year full of God surprises, good gifts from the giver of good gifts himself, who is our God. If you're here for the very first time, karibu sana. Please stick to the end of this voice video, whatever it is that we are doing in this season. And also hit the subscription button and the notification bell so that you never miss any video that goes up. We are currently going through the book of Judges, which contains the stories of the judges that God raised. And the reason he was raising them was to help deliver the Israelites and the tribes of Israelites from the consequences of their own unfaithfulness to the Lord. So far, we have read stories of different judges. We have read the story of Othniel, who is the judge who killed the king of Mesopotamia. We have read about Ehud, who is the judge who killed the king of Moab, the king of Ammonites, and the king of Amalekites. We have read about Shamgar, who is the judge who killed 600 Philistines with an ox guard. We have read about Deborah, Barak, and Jael, who fought against the king of Hazor, and Sisera, who was the army general of that king. So we've also read about Gideon, who was the army leader, who killed the army leaders of the king of Midianites and the Amalekites. The guy who started off as an afraid person, but ended off as a great warrior. We've read about Abimelech. Abimelech was not necessarily a judge that was raised by God, but he was the son of Gideon and his concubine. And this guy raised havoc and then died in havoc. He was just a horrendous person who was mean and ruthless and also died a very sad death. We've read about Tola and about Jair, who are the judges who led for 23 years, and the other one led for 22 years. There's not much written about them, but that is stated that Tola was a judge for 23 years and Jair was a judge for 22 years. And then the last one that we encountered in chapter 11 was Jephthah, yes. This is the guy who fought against the Philistines and the Amorites, but also made a very stupid vow that cost him his daughter. And that was where we ended the last time you heard my voice. We're talking about Jephthah and the story that is found in Judges chapter 11. So today we're going to be covering chapter 12, which is a continuation of the story of Jephthah, and the civil war that broke between him and the tribe of Ephraim. So I'll be reading this chapter from the ESV version, and then later I'm going to share my lesson from the chapter. So please stick around and, stay, just stay with it. All right, let's read. This is Judges chapter 12, and it says, "The men of the tribe of Ephraim called all their soldiers together. Then they went across the river to the city of Zaphon. They said to Jephthah, 'Why didn't you call us to help you fight the Ammonites? We will burn your house down with you in it.'" So you guys remember this tribe? This is a tribe of Ephraim, and this is not the first time they are complaining about not being invited to a war. This is the second time we are seeing this happen in the book of Judges. They complained to Gideon and they said, "Oh Gideon, why didn't you invite us when you were going to fight the people of the Midianites and the Amalekites?" But Gideon was very diplomatic in his answer, and it helped cool off the situation. But now they have come to Jephthah again, and they're like, "You, dude, why didn't you invite us to fight when you were fighting the people of, the people of the Philistines and the Ammonites, why didn't you invite us? So Jephthah answered them. So this is an issue they had. They really wanted to be part of a war. These guys were like, we want to fight. Why are you not inviting us? So Jephthah answered them and said, the Ammonites have been giving us many problems. So my people and I fought against them. I called you, but you didn't come to help me. So in this situation, they had actually been called, but they didn't respond. So God says, I saw that you would not help us. So I risked my own life and I went across the river to fight against the Ammonites. The Lord helped me defeat them. Now, why have you come to fight against me today? So Jephthah is like, but I invited you guys. Why didn't you come? And now that we have fought and God, the Lord has helped us defeat them, why are you coming to fight against me? So Jephthah called the men of Gilead together and they fought against the men of the tribe of Ephraim. So at this point, there was no diplomatic answer that was going to calm the tribe of Ephraim down. Now this was like, let's fight. You want to fight? You have brought war. Let's do this. So Jephthah, remember that Jephthah was a son that was, his mom was a concubine. So the actual sons of his father were against him. They chased him away. So he was kind of on the rough edge. He had goons following him. So he was kind of on the rough edge. So he wasn't as diplomatic as Gideon. Although I don't even know. Sometimes I'm just like, maybe Gideon just didn't want to fight. He's like, I can avoid a war. I'm going to avoid it. But Jephthah was like, yeah, come on, mnataka kupigana. Let's do this. So he called all the men of Gideon together and they fought against the men from the tribe of Ephraim because they had insulted the men of Gilead. So they had said, you men of Gilead are nothing but survivors of the men of Ephraim. Part of you belongs to Ephraim, and part of you belongs to Manasseh. The men of Gilead defeated the men of Ephraim. So it's basically, there was a lot of disrespect here going on. The men of Ephraim were insulting the men of Gilead, and that's why the civil war broke. So the men of Gilead captured the place where people crossed the river Jordan. Those places, it wasn't just one place, those places led to the country of Ephraim. So anytime a survivor from Ephraim came to the river and said, let me cross, the men of Gilead would ask him, are you from Ephraim? If he said no, they would say the word Shibboleth. The men of Ephraim could not say the word correctly. They pronounced the word as Sibboleth. They were shrabbers. So anyway, let me explain. Remember that the tribes, or rather the men of Gilead, are the men, or rather the two and a half tribes that settled before the Israelites crossed the river Jordan. So then they're on this other side of the promised land. That's the tribe of Reuben, that's the tribe of, the half tribe of Gad, and the tribe of, gosh, I've forgotten the other tribe. There were 2.5 tribes. So those are the ones that make up the men of Gilead. And then see, the other Israelites crossed over to the river Jordan. So Ephraim live on the other side of the Jordan River. So every time they would need to cross, they would have to cross somewhere to come to the other side of the Gilead men. So they captured those places so that the Ephraim tribe could not cross over and come to the side of the Gileads. There's a whole civil war happening here. So how they would know that the person crossing is a man from the tribe of Gilead is that they would tell him to say the word Shibboleth. Now, the tribe of Ephraim would not be able to say the word Shibboleth. They would say Sibboleth. As in, they were serious. Who shrubs tus? Is it Luos? I don't know. Is it Luos or is it Kikuyus? I feel like Kikuyus shrub. We shrub everything. But I feel like also Luos don't know how to say sh. They say s. I don't know which tribe. So they were like that. They were not able to say sh. They used to say s. And that is how they would know. Mtu akisema Sibboleth, they would know this guy is from Ephraim, and then they would kill him. So they killed about 42,000 men of Ephraim in that season. So every time an Ephraim man would come, a man from the tribe of Ephraim would come to cross, he would say the word Sibboleth instead of Shibboleth, and then they would kill him. And they killed a total of 42,000 men. That's a really big number. That's a really big civil war happening there. And Jephthah, his name is Jephthah, not Jephthah, guys. Jephthah was a judge for the Israelites for 6 years. Then Jephthah from Gilead died and was buried in the town of Gilead. So that happened. There was a civil war until Jephthah died. And then he died. And then I'm hoping that there was peace. So it continues to talk about the other 3 judges that came after Jephthah. There was Ibzan, who was a judge. There was Elon, and then there was Abdon. I'll not read that whole pass. It's like from verse 8 to verse 15, which is the end of that chapter. And it just speaks about the 3 judges. There's not much mentioned about them. It just mentions their name, it mentions which city they came from, and how many sons they had, how many daughters they had, and how long they actually were judges of the tribes of Israel. So there was Ibzan, who was a judge for 7 years. There was Elon, who was a judge for, does it even say, for 10 years. Then there was Abdon, who was a judge for, hold on, let me see. Actually, it doesn't mention how long Abdon became a judge for. So actually it says 8 years. He was a judge for 8 years. And then that's the end of the chapter. So anyway, one of the saddest things that, and this is my lesson, one of the saddest things that I see happening in this chapter is how the tribe of Ephraim and the men of Gilead start a civil war within themselves. I mean, these 2 tribes, or these now 2.5 tribes and the tribe of Ephraim, were all Israelites. They were supposed to be on the same team. They were on the same team. They were fighting against the common enemies that were, taunting the Israelites in that promised land, but they lost sight of what it is that they had started to fight about. And then they lost sight of that and they started to fight within themselves. That I find to be very, very sad. But unfortunately, it's the same thing that happens with us Christians. We are of the same household of faith, but we lose sight of the common enemy, or even lose sight of the common goal, to spread the gospel and to spread the good news of God's love to the whole world. We get caught up in fighting against each other. We fight about which domination is better than which. We fight about, Christian leadership. We fight about church finances, and also judge each other's faith and the level of quote-unquote salvation harshly. We fight each other and we judge each other harshly. It's so sad that I've seen this happen. For as long as I have known church, I've seen church politics happen. I've seen gossip happening in church that has broken up, a good church and good communities. I have seen people fighting about church leadership. I've just seen people fighting about the finances in church. I've seen people, kind of quoting and deciding this person is not as saved as the rest of us, which is very, very sad. So here is a personal challenge for you. Some things are too big. You're like, okay, so what can I do about people who are fighting about church politics, in the high places of, of church leadership? But here is a challenge, and a personal challenge for you and I. The next time you want to open your mouth to judge a fellow Christian, the next time you want to open your mouth and say something against a certain denomination, remember that we've all been saved by grace. That's number one. We've all been saved. We're all sinners saved by grace. Number 2, remember that we all belong to the same household of faith. And instead, stay on course of the Great Commission, which is to witness God's love to as many people, and as many people as God places on your path. You're supposed to witness God's love to as many people as God has placed on your path. So the next time you want to open your mouth to judge a fellow Christian or to say something about a certain denomination, remember that we all are sinners and we all have been saved by grace. We all belong to the same household of faith, and instead stay on course on the Great Commission, which is to witness God's love to as many people as God places on your path. This is your girl Wakeji Kamore, and this has been Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. See you tomorrow.